Do you ever freeze up and forget everything the moment you try and speak your target language? I know exactly what that feels like. Durante mucho tiempo me sentía bloqueado hasta que dejé de seguir los mismos consejos de siempre y encontré un nuevo sistema que cambió todo. Y la verdad es que cualquiera puede hacerlo en solo 4 pasos. So I'm going to show you a simple 4-step system that helped me speak more fluidly and how you can use it no matter your level. To help you out too, there's a PDF guide linked in the description to help you put this into action. Let's start by looking at one of the biggest things you can do to take that first step to fluency. Picture this, you're talking in your target language. You're not pausing to remember a word or fumbling over a sentence. There's no fear, you're just connecting with native speakers. The question is, how do you get there? When I first started learning Mandarin, I found myself at a lunch with native speakers in China. Now, my Mandarin wasn't great. I struggled to follow the conversation and everything I said was short and clumsy. And then one woman said to me something along the lines of, "You can't say long sentences, can you?" Now, I genuinely don't think she was trying to be mean, but it really hit home. And in that moment, I learned a valuable lesson. If you want to speak your target language well and have meaningful interactions, you need to do better than giving short or even one-word answers. That can seem far away, but it really isn't as far as you think. You have some of the language in your head already. The key is activating it and actually linking it to the speaking parts of your brain. I'll show you some other powerful things you can do to get there in a minute, but one of the simplest ways to do this is to just talk to yourself a lot. Here is the thing though, most people don't approach it in the right way or do it enough to really get the full benefit, but it will make a massive difference over the long term. If we think back to that image of you as a relaxed, confident speaker, how many hours do you think that person has put in? Now, I get that it can be daunting at first, so let's break it up and make it easy to get started. Set a timer for say 5 minutes. You can be commuting, on a walk. You don't have to be sitting at a desk to do this. Try talking about anything that comes to mind and do your best not to stop. If you're new to the language, just say what you like or dislike or why you're learning the language in the first place. If it feels uncomfortable at first, that is the feeling of you trying something new and improving. So keep going. You can talk about a personal story, a particular interest, or just say what you're thinking out loud. And by doing this, you'll find the gaps that you need to work on, and you'll also surprise yourself with what you can come out with too. But 5 minutes is the beginning of a habit, but it won't make you fluent. So do 5 minutes in the morning, and then do the same in the middle of the day and in the evening. These small blocks will add up and they're easy to do because you can do them in your grey time between other tasks, so you can be commuting or cleaning, whatever. Then, as you get more comfortable, slowly increase those sessions until each is about 15 minutes if you can. The more you do it, the faster those words will come because you're reinforcing the connections of your brain as well as the muscles that you use to pronounce the new words. Think of it like going to the gym. All those reps will strengthen your language skills. So here's your challenge. Right after this video, set a timer for 5 minutes and talk about anything as best you can. Then do it a couple more times later in the day. Keep at it and pretty soon you'll be able to speak more freely and feel less tongue-tied. Next, let's look at another technique that massively changed my language learning. I get it. Working out what to do to improve your speaking can feel overwhelming. There are endless apps, methods, advice. Just looking into it is confusing enough before you even actually do any real language learning. So let me share what's made a huge difference for me, and then you can decide if it's something that you would like to add into your routine. So for context, I found myself like a lot of people. I'd got lots of exposure to Spanish. I'd even spoken quite a bit with tutors online. And although I could get my meaning across, I was still missing something. You see, after a ridiculous amount of input, I understood a lot, but often the right word just wasn't there when I needed it. So I knew I had to do something to fix that. The problem was, I tried using the flashcard program Anki again, and very quickly remembered why I hated it in the first place. I didn't want to revise endless words, just reinforce a few things I could actually use in a conversation. And then that's when I realized that I wasn't making the most of things that I already had to hand. So I started using the voice notes app on my iPhone to record the things that I wanted to remember, and then I could listen back later whilst I was doing something else. Honestly, it was amazing. I quickly noticed those same words and phrases coming out in conversations with my tutor or when I was talking to myself. To get started, you'll need your smartphone and then the list of phrases or whatever it is that you want to remember for your next conversation. Maybe it's sentence starters you've looked at with a tutor or common sentence patterns you want to use. If there's something that you're finding particularly tricky, like, I don't know, a certain past tense or even something like the subjunctive if you're learning Spanish, you can go to ChatGPT and give it a prompt. Give me 20 short sentences, then say your target language, using and then say the name of the past tense or subjunctive, whatever it is. Include an English translation so that I understand it. Then, once you have your phrases ready, start recording on the voice app. So record each phrase clearly twice, and then after each time, leave a pause long enough for you to repeat it back when you're listening later. Then just listen whenever you get the chance. Commuting, cleaning, whatever. And if you can, repeat those words or phrases out loud to really ingrain them. A word of warning if you're starting out though. Don't go mad and record too much at once or it will be painful to review. Just focus on things you want to use in actual conversations. Trust me, it is ridiculously simple and works really, really well. After a week, those words and phrases will be popping up in your head all of the time. I do a full breakdown in the download and walk you through exactly how to start and how to take it to the next level when you're ready. But there's another simple exercise that you can do today, which is surprisingly effective. So let's look at that now. Now, there's something I've noticed when it comes to talking in your target language, and it comes back to that story about lunch in China. You see, whilst everybody else was chatting, I was just trying to do my best to follow along. But when it came to actually saying something, I was essentially like a child at the table trying to join in. And linguistically, I was only able to give short 1 or even 2 word answers. Now, we've all got to start somewhere, but ideally I would like to sound a lot more like myself in my target language, not like a baby learning to talk. So if you want to grow up in your target language, you need to start talking about different topics and in more depth. The more that we can do that, the more confident and comfortable we'll be with any topic that comes up in conversation. How do you do that? Well, here is a simple but surprisingly powerful exercise that you can do. First of all, find some content, an article, a blog post, or even a video in your target language. If it's something from YouTube, open the video up in Chrome and then make sure you've got Language Reactor installed and then open the transcript by exporting it to HTML. Now, I like to avoid being constantly tied to a device, so I would actually print off the article or transcript, whatever it is. You can, however, just read it off your laptop if that's easier. Next, before you go any further, if you can, stand up. If you can't, just have a strong coffee. We want to bring a lot of energy to this. Now, with your content to hand, start talking out loud about it. You've got the text in front of you to refresh your memory as much as you need, but this is where you can start to build that linguistic ability. If you're not sure where to start, you can summarize the content and then go on to say, I think that. Don't forget to use connectors like however, on the other hand, etc. But keep that energy up, walk around and talk about whatever material you've chosen. So you can imagine you're giving a TED talk or even just talking to a friend. For your first time, make it easy again. Just set a 5-minute timer and try and keep going until it's up. You can always increase the duration as you get more comfortable each session too. And the beauty of this is that you can use the same technique for countless articles or videos, and it gets you out of your comfort zone, which is the very thing that is essential to improve. So find some material and talk out loud about it for at least 5 minutes and see how you get on. You're still in control and you can choose any material that interests you. But do this regularly and slowly increase the difficulty of the material you use, and you'll stop being like a child in your target language and finally feel confident and ready to join in with any conversation. Which leads us to something that is at the core of how I learn languages. Now, when I think back to my very first Mandarin lesson, I went to a friend's house with a group I was going to go to China with to train Kung Fu. At that time, I did not know my Ni Haos from my Fei Ta Haos. Someone's girlfriend recommended a textbook, and so each of us there was there with our own copy. She was a native speaker and she took us through that first lesson. It was the classic thing, a dialogue, vocabulary, and a description of the grammar. We each read through it, trying to say it out loud, but it was such a boring, uninspiring book, and then needless to say, I didn't learn much. But then, when I first got to China, the contrast couldn't have been greater between the boring textbook and then what happened next. After I landed, I headed out to a town in the mountains and checked into a hotel. I got into a lift at the same time as two locals. One bloke spat on the floor whilst the other was smoking whilst we were all still inside the lift. It was quite the culture shock. But I spent the next 2 weeks training Kung Fu, trying my best to talk to people, and eating some of the most delicious food I've had in my life. Suddenly, this language that was trapped in the pages of that crappy textbook came to life. It was linked to actual people and their history and their culture, and that sparked something which I think I still carry now. A language isn't just words on the page. So whatever you can do to connect with the people who speak it will help it come to life and make it a much more enriching experience. It will help to motivate you and honestly just make the whole thing much more interesting. Learning a language is more than just how many words you know or what sentence structures you can use. At the end of the day, it's just about connecting with people. So to do that yourself, I really recommend finding conversation partners who you click with. Now, if there are people local to you that you can use, that is perfect. But for most of us, the easiest thing is to use online tutoring platforms like italki. Think of it like speed dating at first. Try a few community tutors and see who you click with. You're just looking for someone who you can chat with and makes you want to come back for another lesson to continue the conversation. Don't feel bad either. They are professionals. If you don't enjoy a lesson, ditch them and move on. You're not entering into a binding contract. I once did a Chinese lesson with someone who seemed fun in his profile video. I said it was my first class back after an extremely long break. But in the class, he just made me read through pages of Chinese characters and then finished the lesson saying that we would be doing a grammar lesson next time. Absolutely not. Unsurprisingly, I didn't book him again. So today, book a lesson with a new tutor or a conversation partner and let their energy make the language come to life. If you're nervous, just message a tutor and say that you want to practice basic conversation, not have a formal lesson. When you connect with real people, you'll find yourself more motivated and your speaking will improve faster than you ever thought possible. If you do just one thing from this video, start speaking today. Don't wait for perfect, just get your words out there. You can use the download if it helps too. There is one thing that I found really helped me to take my speaking to the next level. So check out this video here and I'll show you how to put it into action.